Now, here's Jenny's. Looks good so far. Let's see. Um, there's a contrast in subjects here. The bottle is clearly some sort of cleaning supply, and then there's a nice, refreshing looking glass of something to drink. Notice how when you go to the grocery store, the bagger is putting foodstuffs in one bag and cleaners in a different bag. Somehow the two don't they don't mix. Cleaners might be toxic, for example. So there's an interesting and subtle contrast going here with the chosen subjects. Now, Jenny, I want you to check the curviness of the bottom edge of the glass. It's not curvy enough. Use that pencil method that was discussed in the last draft's review. I also want you to take a vertical axis and put that in the middle of your glass. The glass is not symmetrical yet. And also consider using Dorena's method for creating a symmetrical shape. Draw a half, fold the paper, trace the other half, open it up, use that rough as a drawing that you might trace onto your drawing paper for the final from. Lisa, I like the attention seen here in the rendition of the napkin, the way the napkin's pleated, the various layers of the cloth that we see at the bottom edge. This is my favorite part about this drawing. One thing I want to suggest is that the information that's most important is generally going to be light and shadow falling over form versus numbering each and every line in the scalp edge of the plate. For example, let's see, I think that you must be using the stump to blend your graphite with, and I'm not a great fan of that. One thing I'll suggest to you in all the class is an idea of like a petite telephone cord spiral that you might use for shading. Alonda, I can see that you have a theme going here also with a couple of subjects that appear to be Asian. A little teapot with a brush design and what looks like a Buddha. I like the way that we're starting to see shadow on Buddha's belly, for example. As I was just saying to Lisa M., let light and shadow falling over form prevail over any detail. So we look at the teapot there, and the first thing I'm seeing is that brush design, which is carefully rendered. However, the first thing I want to see is the dimensionality of the form of the pot, and that would be best portrayed by light and shadow. And in order to draw that, you have to be able to see it, so you need to set up your lighting accordingly. Now, a couple of things. I would suggest a composition like this might work better with a horizontally oriented page. I like the way that you're seeing the curvature on the lid of the teapot, for example, and I think it's possible that that sort of curvature might also affect the bottom, the very bottom edge of the Buddha statue. One thing I was thinking about with Alondas was there could be a horizon line. There could be a line indicating where the table, these objects sit on ends, where a wall is behind. And I noticed Denise has included that line. Um, I see, Denise, here that you've drawn your fruits, and presumably you've got all these fruits in front of you, a couple of pineapples, grapes, maybe an orange and an apple. This looks like an early state of your drawing, and at this point, I want to encourage you to use a very light touch. And the way I like to start this drawing is with, I usually use a 2H pencil, but you could use an HB pencil, with a light touch so that the drawing is barely perceptible, and you want to make sure that when you draw, you don't press hard and create a groove in your page, which would make for problems with shading later on. A student in a class last session was drawing pineapples, or a pineapple, and she showed various states of progress on the drawing, so I included them here thinking that they might inspire you. My first reaction is, oh, a pineapple. That's a big task. A lot of texture, for example, on the pineapple's form. Lisa R., what a beautiful draft. So much time and attention has gone into the creation of this. Careful observation. You know, the first thing I see here is the horizon line. It's jumping out at me because it is just about at halfway, and I would discourage everyone from putting it there, especially when there's a contrast in value between the wall and the table. Now, maybe you'll decide to leave it where it is for this drawing and do things differently with your next drawing. Um, uh, let's see. I think that something similar is going on with a candlestick that appears to be behind a square box bouquet of, I think they're rose blooms. So I think we've got a short candlestick with a short candle and a taller one behind the box of flowers. And that's sort of an odd placement. And I must say that there are times when you will want to break the rules and present a composition that's a little quirky. In fact, that might become your style. But in this case, it's sort of like when you take a photo of someone and they're standing in front of a tree and it looks like the tree is growing out of their head. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's a little bit of humor, or there's a little bit of the quality of a puzzle here. Let's see. One thing about the roses, they're drawn with such care. I think you can gain more attention for them if you create greater contrast between the value for the tabletop and the roses themselves. Hi, Teresa. You know, I appreciate how you um, use grayscale with your photos, but I wonder if you are scanning in color. I recommend you scan in color and convert to grayscale in Photoshop. You're getting a very contrasty image time and time again, and I tried to address this in gradebook notes or elsewhere for you. So, in an effort that we might better see the nuance in your lovely drawings, please try a different method for documenting them. Um, let's see. It appears that this is a necklace that's uh, falling over the lip of a bowl. What a lovely theme. I'm looking for more information on the table. Um, I like the shadow that we see in the foreground. Pay attention to what I've said to your classmates about backlighting things. That can be a problem. It might be that this is a bowl that was thrown by a potter, wherein its shape might be slightly asymmetrical. If not, I want you to think about that method I talked about earlier in this review for using a central vertical axis and or tracing with a rough draft to ensure that the form of your bowl or a vase, etc., is symmetrical. Well, Matthew, this is an interesting pair of subjects. Um, you know, we see in Alonda's a sort of theme, an Asian theme perhaps, and in Jenny's there was a certain contrast between foodstuffs and non-foodstuffs. But here we've got this transparent, empty form, and we've got a deflated sports ball, which is empty of even air, apparently, looking something like a prune. I wonder about the scale. I suppose these hexagonal candy containers come in a variety of sizes, but it seems as though that might have been a little bit bigger or taller in relation to the ball. However, I don't think that's what you want to change in this case. It's an idea to look out for in future using citing. I believe that candy jar ought to be casting a shadow. Also, I feel as though your subjects are crammed within this composition, and I'm hoping there's more paper space around them